Hello, everybody. This is Chris A. Moody, and this is Dog Days of Podcasting for 2016, day number whatever. I think it's day 3, day 4, something like that. Today, I'm hoping when I'm able to edit this, I'll have some huge background music, which you'll probably remember. But if not, we have Edward Earl Newton, or as he was known back in the day, Earl Newton, with us.
Hello.
So, for people who don't go that far back in podcasting,
Sure.
who are you and how did you get your big name at one point, or still, I guess?
Okay. My name. Currently, I go by Edward Earl Newton, but I was originally Earl Newton. I was the executive producer and the creator of the first science fiction anthology series to be released in HD on the internet. It was called, coincidentally, Stranger Things. Don't think I haven't been getting a bunch of emails with the subject line Netflix. And we released that in 2007 and won a bunch of awards and released a bunch of really cool sci-fi stories that were in video. And then later we were picked up by Illusion TV and distributed on demand to 25 million homes across America. And since then, I've been living in Los Angeles and doing all kinds of stuff.
Okay. So, I did try to finding Illusion TV. It seems they are no longer existent. Is that correct, or was my Google food not failing me?
At some point, I think they moved on too. So yeah.
Okay.
Channels come and go. It was a startup network, so we were really fortunate to get on it and get the distribution we got. It was very, very cool.
Okay. So, how many episodes aired on there that didn't show up on your podcast?
They aired everything we had. They got everything that we got. After let's see, I think it was 2009 was the last episode that I put out. But we had done some interesting. We had done essentially some. We had done a SAG new media agreement, and so because of that, there were kind of some interesting things about distribution. And then by then, it was really kind of a challenge in terms of production because we were still doing it very much sort of out of my living room in a way. So finding the resources to do it became more challenging. And then at the same time, I was also kind of struck with this sort of opportunity to go to Los Angeles. And I went, okay, I got to do it. And so the winter after the last Stranger Things episode, which was 2009, I began preparing to move to LA, and I moved in January of 2010. And so that was the last one. Mm-hmm.
And so, for all intents and purposes, is Latchkeepers the last episode?
No. There's another one after that called Disconnect, which is even cooler, I would say. I mean, although, no disrespect to Matt Wallace, his episode was fantastic. But no, we did another one that was even cooler called Disconnect.
Okay.
And so here's what was really funny. Disconnect was an episode about essentially kind of like an internet celebrity that is trying to escape his audience, and they keep finding him, and they've embedded what's called a seed bed in his stomach that generates these micro cameras, these nano cameras that sort of they can tap into through the internet and watch him from any angle. And what's fascinating is when he tries to escape, the network decides, rather than pretend that this is a terrible thing and oh my goodness, they just make it part of this game where the idea is you have to catch him. So it's people constantly searching through all these cameras trying to find him. And what's fascinating is a person that I work with now, Matthew Patrick, for the Game Theorist channel, just recently hosted a show called The Runner, which is about people on the internet trying to track down someone. A real person in real life. So it was kind of like, when I saw that happen, it was like, okay, I did that like 7 years ago, and now it's actually starting to come true. Like the future is coming faster and faster. It's hard to stay ahead.
Yeah, I remember they were saying, the people who did Star Trek, they were saying that was their biggest complaint was, well, it looked like futuristic at beginning of the season, looked old by the end of the season.
Yeah. Exactly. Like they didn't have the newest model of iPhone at the end, so you're like, you guys are behind the times.
So, Is there any chance of your Stranger Things coming back?
Well, so that's interesting. The show itself, obviously, we put our last episode out in 2009, and then what's interesting is I had literally been talking to my manager a couple of years ago, and I'm like, we need to get on Netflix. We need to get Stranger Things on Netflix. Netflix is the place to be, and we were trying to make deals, trying to make it work, and I was just new to LA. I didn't have that many connections, which is fine. And now that there is a Stranger Things on Netflix, it would be a trick because they obviously have a much bigger budget for lawsuits. And although you can't copyright a title, you can sue people for what's called market confusion. So even though they took the name after me, they took it when it was essentially dormant in a way, right? Like it was a show that had ended. And so, which I think, I can't remember, but there might have been, I think there was an album or a band that was called Stranger Things when I started. So it's not like someone had never thought of the name before me. I didn't know until after, but I kind of figured that's also what happened to them is they did not realize till after. So it would probably be a challenge. However, for me, that doesn't bother me as much because Stranger Things, the title was never really why I thought people came to see it, right? I mean, it was a nice title. Yeah. Clearly other people enjoy using it as well. But it was more about kind of the worldview and the point of view and the sort of strange stories. So I've written scripts since then that are in that vein. And the only challenge is they are going very slowly through the machinery of Hollywood. Like one of the stories I came up with very early on for Stranger Things, and I held back because I always knew, okay, this is a movie. This isn't just a TV episode. I wrote that into a feature, and that's been being shopped for a while to... I don't think I'm supposed to say who, but it's like I would think of like the top 10 movies of all time. Mm-hmm. It's people from those movies.
Okay.
And not like extra number 7.
Yeah, well, I remember at one time you bought the rights to one of Myrtle Aphrodite's stories.
Yes.
Did
Myr pay you? Tell me now.
What?
Did Myr pay you? Tell me now. She has never forgiven me, and she has every right to not forgive me. That was... Okay, I'm sorry. Let me let you introduce. I'm sorry. I'm totally destroying you setting up the context of this question.
Well, actually, I don't remember which story it was. I just remember... I think it was a time travel. It was... I look forward to remembering you or something like that, wasn't it?
That's the one.
Okay. It was just... If you did ever get back to making those, that would be like the first episode I would hope you would make.
I have so many good ideas for that. That was one of the reasons why we never got around to it. I haven't gotten to talk to Myr about it, honestly, just because we never hit that point where we were definitely doing it. We hit that point where we were almost definitely doing it.
Oh, okay. So you didn't actually purchase the video rights, huh?
What's that?
You didn't actually purchase the video rights?
No. And by this point, I don't know, man. We'd have to get some kind of production budget. Myr's big time now. I had so many good ideas for that episode. I had so many cool things that I wanted to do that I kind of it outpaced my grasp. And so I kind of felt like I don't want to do this if I can't do it the way I want to do it. Like, I'll tell you just one thing. We were going to add a character. I mean, first of all, her story is fantastic by itself. So it needed no polishing. It was great. There was just some things I was going to do to make it more cinematically friendly. That was it. She's great. It's a fantastic story. There's a reason why I was so interested in it. It's terrific. We were going to add a character called Kevin, who is the operator of the time machine. No, not Kevin. Kevin's the prostitute. He was going to have another name, but that doesn't matter. He was going to be the operator of the time machine. But what happens is you go the male prostitute. The story is about a woman who hires a male prostitute to go back in time and seduce her when she's young. For those who haven't seen it, go check it out. I think it's on Escape Pod. It's absolutely worth checking out. It's a great story. But what happens is we were going to do this bit where he goes into wherever the time machine is, and this old man is there, and he's coughing and wheezing, and he feels terrible, and his name's like Tom, let's say. And Tom's like, all right, I'm going to send you back to 1990, whatever. Do me a favor. Give this note to the guy operating it when you get there, would you? And so you get in the time machine, and he goes back in time to whatever, 30 years earlier, and it's still Tom. But it's Tom when he's super young, and Tom is chain smoking. And the guy hands him a note, and the guy says, please, for the love of God, stop smoking. And Tom's just like, yeah, screw you, man. And so I just had all these really interesting, like, little visual details that were going to happen. And it was just, okay, this is becoming unwieldy. Plus the whole, I don't even want to go into it. There's just so many things I wanted to do. And I might still do it. I mean, it doesn't seem likely at this point because I'm doing so many other things. But if I got a chance to do it, I don't want to spoil it. So I don't want to say anything.
Yeah. Well, something we'll be getting into shortly. You could also now make the video game version.
That's true. That's actually true. I've started doing game development. So which is so, okay, so here's the thing. Well, we'll get into it. I'm not going to jump topics. By all means, please.
The only other thing I was going to bring up, I think it was done by College Humor or something. They did a short movie that was, to me, seemed reminiscent of I Look Forward to Remembering You.
Mm-hmm.
There was this guy who had this like lap-based machine that would help him jump realities. And he kept trying to hit on this one girl until he got the exact right thing to say.
Oh, wow. No, I haven't heard of that.
Every time he goofs up, he hits the button and he jumps realities. Nice.
That's kind of like a Groundhog Day thing.
But what he finds out at the very end, when he finally gets going with the girl, turns out this girl is also into quantum physics, or at least this reality of the girl is into quantum physics. And he said, every other version of you died when you hit that button. So every time he jumped, he died.
Oh my God.
And so
that's awesome.
And then they do the flip back to all the girls, and they're all like freaking out that this guy starts hitting on them and then falls over dead.
That's fantastic. No, I have not seen that. That's terrific. That's terrific.
But so anyways, you were if I remember correctly, you were teamed up with Matt Wallace for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Matt, when I moved to LA, Matt also moved out with me, and we lived together for about 3 years. It was fantastic. He's still my best friend. We don't get to hang out as much because we're both. It's that awkward thing that happens when everything you're trying to do starts working, and then you realize you have very little time left, like so little time in the day. I was working on this game that I'm working on right now. I was working on this game till about 4:30 or 5 this morning. So I literally went to sleep and then woke up and went, I've got to do this interview. So that's when your passions start to come to fruition, it is a challenge. Like, I know he and I have been talking about getting together to hang out for a while. We used to live together, see each other every day, all day. Now it's both of us just trying to figure out, like, well, wait, I got to do this thing and you got to go do that, and I have to take a meeting, or he's working on a novel, or whatever it is. Like, it's just, or a story, or whatever he's working on. It's
he also has that podcast with Murr, and
yeah, I like that podcast very much. I've listened to a lot of it. It's really good. It's really good. I always wanted to, because they obviously they want to do the good cop, bad cop situation. I always wanted to be the third member of that and just be called evil cop. And so whatever anyone said, like, they say, oh, Matt and Murr, I want to write this novel. What should I do? And then they say their thing, Murr's really sweet and Matt's really hard on him. And then the evil cop comes in and goes, do it or don't do it. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to come of it. It doesn't matter. Do it. I mean, fine. Or don't. Doesn't even matter. Just like really be the wet blanket. But, it was just a bit. Okay. So yeah, they do that now. It's really fun.
So now you're developing a video game, and as most software projects go, you're a little behind on the beta, but that's to be expected.
Of course, right? Well, so here's what happened. This funny story. I remember before I ever started Stranger Things, long time ago. I was helping out a friend on a film shoot, and we had one of those post-shoot kind of you sit around, have drinks, talk about your dreams kind of thing, right? At this point, I'm probably 22 or 23 years old. No, excuse me, I was 24. And I had made a film before, but not that many. And they go, so what do you want to do, man? And I'm like, honestly, like, I like movies. They're great. But video games are where it's at. Like, I'm making movies because movies are the current art form, the best way to communicate. But video games are the future, man. And I have always believed that, and always felt like, well, yeah, but I can't do that. I'm a video guy. I work in film. I know how to do. I've spent a lot of time studying all this stuff, and just within the last 6 months or so, I just started going, gotta at least do one. I used to program a lot when I was a kid, so it's not something unfamiliar. And obviously, I've been doing a lot of graphics work since then. So I kind of have a little bit of both, like a little bit of the art and a little bit of the science kind of coming together. And I don't know why this is. I can hear all the Stranger Things fans going, "What? Why?" But I really am enthusiastic about making a video game for kids. I'm passionate about it right now. The game I'm working on right now is called Glute Force, and it's a story about a cop who, in a city literally called the City in Peril, just ridden with crime, and in desperation, the police force invests in a super soldier program to create super cops to go out there and fight the criminals. And at the last minute, you're the volunteer. The nurse with the needle trips and injects all of it into your butt. And now you are a normal person, but you have this incredibly bouncy, springy butt. And you bounce all over the place and take out bad guys. And the whole idea is you're going to restore the city to its once and future glory. And it is so silly. Like, everything about it is so silly. And it's so completely 180 from what a lot of people know me for, that I know there's got to be people that are going, what? But I don't know why. I just really wanted to make a game that would make 7-year-olds laugh. And when you're 7, a butt is still hilarious. You don't have like the Kim Kardashian, you don't have any associations with a butt as anything other than just something really funny, like an elbow. And, excuse me. And I just went, okay, I have to do this. So I've been working on this game off and on for about 5-6 months. And we're getting to the stage now. And okay, so I originally, aren't you in the beta group?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I originally was like, oh, no problem. In May, we're going to have a beta group because it'll be done by June, surely. I mean, why this? Easy. I had never made a video game before, right? Like, if this was a film, I'd be like, okay, well, this is going to take me about 6 weeks and then that. But with a video game, you just don't realize how much it's going to expand downward. Or outward, rather. So I have been, quote unquote, almost in beta for about 4 months, but it's coming soon. I swear. I made a list of everything that I have yet to do, and then I cried. I cried manly tears, and then I went, okay, we got to get to work. So there's lots of stuff left to do, but it's really going to be fun.
That's cool. And I guess if all else fails, you can always do like one of your Stranger Things. It's coming soon. Small tag.
That's right. I'll just walk into the frame. I'm Edward Earl Newton, creator and the designer of Glute Force. I'd really like to talk seriously about a game about butts. I think that would be fantastic. I'll just be super. I'll do that same thing. Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, you know what it is? I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to make a fun game, because as much as I love Stranger Things and I love like messing with people's heads, if you ever listen to an interview with me from that time, it's very clear I'm very silly. Like, it's very clear that I'm being very silly. Like, the way we're talking right now, it's just this is what I'm like all the time. So there was always a bit of cognitive dissonance when people would see me as the character from the show, you know, the "Hello, I'm Earl Newton" character, and then they'd meet me in real life and they're like, "You're nothing like him. You're You're very goofy and off the wall. And I just thought, okay, I wanna try and represent that a little bit better. So hence, I make a game about a superhero with a powerful butt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too late to have any for your
for the Stranger Things audience?
For the Stranger Things audience, have something just maybe one of the sacred cows, aliens going across the screen, or
I stole that. I just stole that. Right? No, we're not. I was already doing that before you said that. I'll have to go back through the episodes and find something that would be really if you saw it, you'd be like, wait a minute. But for people who don't know the series, they wouldn't know. That's such a good idea. Stolen. Stolen right here. Did it on camera.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So, is this something you're planning on giving away, or are you going to add to the app market for price or freemium, or?
Well, okay. So here's my thought, because the game in and of itself is very. Hold on, just 1 second. There we go. Apparently I have phone calls enabled on my laptop. Okay, so the game itself is a bit large in scale. It's rather than if you think of I'm inspired by the old 8-bit. Super Mario 3 to me is the pinnacle of gaming. Obviously I play lots of modern games, but in terms of a 2D side scroller, Super Mario 3 is the perfection of the form. It's just fantastic. What they did was fantastic. So, but if you look at Super Mario 3, the levels are relatively short. It's a very kind of start to end kind of thing. You always begin at the left, you end at the right. And I didn't want to do that just because that really requires a team, because then you have to generate. Because, if you think about Mario usually has 10 to 13 levels per world. And if there's 8 worlds, you're talking about between 80 and 104 levels, or excuse me, 104 levels. So that's just out. I'm a new developer. That's way outside of my scope. So what I'm going to be doing is creating larger worlds, but there'll be fewer of them. So the initial scope of the thing is there are 8 kind of areas in the city that you're going to try and clear out, and each one of them has 3 levels that are these big open world things, and then the 4th level is a boss. So there's a boss in each thing, right? And the idea of it is, again, with Mario, it's just about completion. You're just can you just get through the level? Whereas in this game, it's much more about exploration and getting in all around all the different catty corners, finding all these different little secrets and stuff, because you're trying to clear up the city, which means you've got to get back all the piggy banks that were stolen from everyone. So I have these cute little piggy banks that appear, and they dance around, and it's the silliest, most fun kind of game ever. It's nuts. So yeah, the short version is the game. That was not the answer to your question. The short version is the game will be released for free, and I think I'm going to try and do ads, but only because I found a very interesting way to do ads. I didn't want to. Everyone kept saying, if you're going to do it for free, you should release ads. And I just thought, oh, God, when you load the level, you got to watch an ad? I'm imagining myself at 8 years old going, I don't want to watch an ad. But what I did instead is, in special places throughout the city, not everywhere, there are TVs playing. And if you go up to the TV, you can touch it, and it will say, would you like to watch the news about you? And if you hit yes, it'll say, oh my God, the character's name is Gluteus Max. You can play as either male or female, and I think at least 3 different races. So you can, it's very much I want the character to look like the kid playing the game. But when you hit the TV, it says, well, would you like to watch the news about yourself? And you say yes or no. And if you say yes, it says, coming up next, we've got a... But first, these words. So it plays an advertisement because you're watching the news. And then it plays an ad, and if you watch the ad, afterwards you get a little upgrade. You get a little power-up that you get to use for other stuff. So it's you get to decide if you're going to watch it. I'm not going to force this stuff on you. And if you do, you get a cool thing. But either way, the game should be accessible. You shouldn't have to do that.
Okay.
So that's my goal.
You know, another idea that just occurred to me of
Hit me.
somehow else you could tie in Stranger Things
Please.
is if there's like a limit to how many piggy banks you can hold at one time, you could have an upgrade where you could have the latchkey power.
Oh, that's. Oh, you know what? I need to. I think the in joke might end up being one of the aliens, but I'm not sure. Only because it's so much fun to bounce on things. If you could bounce on that alien, that would be like fantastic. Like maybe I'll like sequester it somewhere where you have to find it, but if you find it, you get like a gajillion things. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If it's one of the sacred cows, it would of course have to be on top of a church.
Oh my God, I don't know. Ooh, I forgot how scandalous that was. You know what was really funny about that? When we went to go shoot that, we had to shoot in a church, obviously, and I didn't have any money. So I had to, and I meant it sincerely, I had to explain to the pastor of the church why this was really about a confirmation of faith. Like, even though it's like, okay, actually God doesn't exist and there's just aliens in the sky, this is really going to be a story about a priest rediscovering his faith. Yeah, I don't know. That was a tough one. We had a lot of those on Stranger Things. We had a lot of like. That's one of the great things about game development is you don't have to do as much talking people into things.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. We had to when we shot Sins of the Mother, which was the second episode. You know, the one with the needle and
right.
all that. When we shot it, we had to shoot in a hospital, which up to like 4 days before we shot, I did not have. I was still looking. And I found out that at my school there was a teaching, like a model of what a hospital would be like. There was like a teaching model, and so I walked into the office and told them, "Hi, I want to shoot a short film." And they said, "Well, I'm sorry, you can't because we can't close this down. We actually do work here." And I said, "Well, what if I came after work?" And they said, "I mean, you could do it from like 5 to 5 because that's when we're closed, but you're going to have to get people to stay here with you." I said, so you're saying I can do it as long as I can talk some of these nurses who've worked all day into staying with us from 5 at night till 5 in the morning. She's like, yeah, if you can talk them into that, you can have it. I'm like, fantastic. And then I went down the hall and I talked them into it. They were very nice people.
Well, that's cool. So did they wind up being extras or?
No, I think we wound up working at a production thing. Like I was going to shoot some spots for them or something. I might still owe them those spots. I'll have to call them up. They might, which is great because back then I was only like kind of good, but now I've been working in LA for 6 years. So it's like, no, if I do the spots now, it'll be amazing. They'll be way better.
So, what besides developing video games, what have you been doing in LA?
So, okay, for a while I did some reality TV. I was doing because again, you have to make a living. I was the showrunner for a couple of series. One that sold overseas called Evolution of, which was about celebrities and sort of the stories, their rise to success and everything. It was kind of like a best week ever, but not quite as comedy based. It was more about getting behind the celebrities. And for the last year, I've been working a fantastic job with amazing people called The Game Theorists on YouTube. The Game Theorists and the Film Theorists. I do editing for them, and it's just a joy. It's just a joy. People who watch YouTube will know Matt Pat, the host, and he's the man who runs everything. Just fantastic people. Just the best people to work for. And all we do all the time is make videos about video games and movies and interesting theories about them. Like one of my favorite ones that I got to work on was did Bowser from Super Mario come from a broken home? And that's why he's constantly stealing Princess Peach, because he's trying to create a family for his children that he never had. And it's just fun, man. It's just fun. And it's also been a great skills expanding exercise, because every week you're doing something different. Every week you're trying to make things more interesting or try to, like I've I've put Matt's head on so many. This is different Matt. This is Matthew Patrick, not Matt Wallace. I've put Matt's head on so many things at this point. Just so many. Like, he's been in Fast and the Furious, and I put him on Elizabeth Banks's character from the Hunger Games, which I know he was super thrilled about when he, like, the chauffeur pops up and his face is just totally done in white makeup and the lipstick and all that. It's great. It's a super fun time, which again I know has to be strange to some people because they're so used to the hello. I'm Earl Newton, and I'm the executive producer and the creator of Stranger Things. I'm just way sillier than that. And all my jobs now and all my sort of the things I'm trying to do now are kind of reflecting that more. Which is good.
Yeah. Or, just one last idea for the game.
Sure, please.
I don't know if the platforms can handle it, but you should start off with like an animated version of you coming onto a stage.
You know what I probably will do? I probably will do a promo for the game that way. And come out and just be like, I'm the executive producer and creator of Stranger Things. I'd like to introduce this new game about cop butts. And just like deadpan the camera the whole time. That's actually a good idea. Yeah.
So is there any bonuses if you eat donuts or anything?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how much of this character is a cop and how much of it is a superhero. Because to me, in my mind, it's really a superhero who started as a cop. I know, for example, if I can pull it off, there's going to be a power-up where you basically get a CD in your inventory, and if you touch it, it starts to play booty music, and you are then invincible because your butt just takes control and you bounce over and hit everything. So we'll have that. I'm thinking about putting in something called parachute pants, where after you bounce somewhere, if you have this enabled, you'll float because your pants billow out. I don't know. We're trying to figure it out.
Well, I was thinking like if you eat so many donuts, that could be worth a life.
Oh, that's a good. Oh, okay. So that's one of the coolest things about this game. Okay, so I know it's silly and probably maybe a little too. I don't know. I didn't want to do death in the game, and because I mean, honestly, for adults, death doesn't really mean anything. We don't think of it as death. We don't feel it as a death. We just go, "Oh, I lost." That's all it is, right? But when you're 7 years old, death is death. You die, right? And I just felt like that's a bit hardcore. And again, it's not in keeping with the tone of the game, which is that it's just supposed to be silly and fun, challenging. Definitely challenging. There's elements to this where I feel like there's going to be players. You're going to see some grown-up people playing a butt game. But I just didn't feel like death was necessary. So what I did instead is you have confidence. And you have a confidence meter. You get like 3 confidence or whatever. And if you lose, it's basically the same thing as if it's the same metaphor as dying. But the difference is instead of dying, you've lost all your confidence and you're just like, oh, I can't do this. I suck so bad. And that's essentially your continue screen. So if you want to keep going, you have to pat the character on the back. And the more you lose confidence, the harder it is. And the faster you have to do it to encourage them to keep going. And eventually it becomes like impossible because they're just so dejected that they can't seem to succeed, that they'll just be like, I quit. And then it's over.
Okay.
So I still want it to be challenging, but I also want it to be fun.
Okay. All right. Well, just one more idea for the second version of the game.
Please hit me.
Tie in GPS.
Tell me more.
Well, like with Pokemon Go, make it so that...
Oh, doing like a GPS locator thing?
Yeah. So like as you're walking around your city, things will pop up that you have to bounce on.
Oh, that's fantastic. So here... Yes, for my second game, I will take on Pokemon Go. My first one, I'll take on Mario. And then secondly, Pokemon Go. And then after that, I will just directly fist fight Shigeru Miyamoto. I'll just go to his home and be like, let's do it right now. And it'll be anime style. It'll be super cool. Super cool.
Well, you know, I was thinking since they're always complaining about kids spending too much time on their butts as is.
Right? Dude, I'm telling you, there is not a kid I have told this to that's not like, with your butt, you say. I mean, they don't sound like a 19th century detective, but the feeling is there. They're like, tell me more about bouncing on your butt. I'm like, yes.
Although I was thinking it's probably more popular with the boys than girls.
Tell me
Would
more.
that be wrong?
What do you mean? Oh, more popular with the boys than girls?
Yeah.
I don't know because I haven't actually tried that out yet. But I knew that you have to be able to play as a boy or a girl. And in fact, I've only animated the girl so far because I want to make sure the girl has to be in there. I'm just really tired of. Well, I mean, there's two things there, right? Like, first of all, I've been playing. I mean, do you play video games?
Yeah.
What's your game?
It varies. Right now I'm playing Civilization still.
Okay, cool. But if you've been playing games as long as I have, you remember Mario 3.
Yeah.
Like, can you remember not playing a guy?
No.
Right? I'm not even going to get into the whole, like, is it sexist? Is it not sexist? It's not about that. It's just, like, boring at this point. It's like, I get it. I'm a white dude. I get what that means, right? It's like if you could have any adventure you wanted in the world, but you had to take the same friend forever, and you're just like, I'd like to have a girlfriend, or I'd like to switch this up a little bit. So that's the first point. Just playing as a dude is boring at some point. And the second thing is, it just sucks if you're a girl and you don't get to be a girl. Like, what's that?
Are any of the levels even slightly different between genders?
Nope. Totally the same. Your character is the only thing that's different. Everything else completely the same. And I feel like it should be. Like, there's no reason why girls can't go and do. In fact, I have another game that I may want to make after this that's all about playing as a girl. But I don't even want to say what it is because it's so cool and I don't think anyone's done it yet. That I will make that later. But yeah, no, otherwise they're completely the same. And she's kick ass, and so is the guy. They're both equally badass. And there's also, and the idea with the whole thing is not. There's this idea about political correctness. Oh, we got to be political. It's not political correctness. It's that it was politically correct to make it only a white dude. That's what was politically correct in the 50s. You can't have a black man in this movie / game / story. You can't have a white woman or whatever it is. That was political correctness. Now we're just having reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the game, I want a kid from anywhere to be able to pick up the game and go, this guy kind of looks like, or this girl kind of looks like me. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, I can't, there's no true race. Like, it's just, there's a huge spectrum of color and style in terms of the way human beings look. So that's not going to be perfect. And this is my first game. I'm not trying to save the world. But I do want kids to be able to pick up the game and go, oh, cool, I'm playing someone that looks like me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of important. So that kind of has become my focus a little bit. And that means I have to reach out and get other people to do art because I'm not good at I'm not good at faces. I can make crates, though. I have a fantastic can I just tell you about something in the game? Is that weird? I have this. I'm working on a whole world that's the warehouse district, because if you think about every superhero story, there's always a warehouse. Batman has consistently fought people in warehouses for years. Like, warehouses should kind of be aware of it at this point. So there's a warehouse district in the city, but it's just one enormous warehouse. It literally just takes up blocks and blocks of the city. And so one of the mechanics in there is you get to hide in a crate, as you do in video games, and that apparently makes sense. But rather than pretend like the bad guys can't see you, all the bad guys are very clear that the crate is moving. They're just like, that's a very polite crate that's being so gently moving past me. So whenever you pass the bad guys, they won't fight you, but they'll just say, oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon me, I beg your pardon. Oh, what a polite crate. So, yeah. That's just one of the things I'm working on. It's still very much kind of exploding out of me right now.
So will it be just word bubbles, or will you have?
It's going to be word bubbles mostly because if I want to translate it, it'll be easier to translate. I was thinking about doing some voiceover for the main character. So I'll probably get to, which is again, this is how Stranger Things and all my experience there feeds in. Like when it comes to acquiring voice talent or getting people, that's easy. Like I that part I'm so very comfortable with. I'll probably get somebody to do the voices for the main character and the general. I need a good general, or excuse me, the commander. I need like a good cigar chewing commander to oh my god, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you did ever go back to doing your own videos, I actually came after watching. I know Disney has done this movie a couple of times, but the one really interesting aspect you've never looked at: do Freaky Friday between genders.
They did make that movie in the 80s.
Oh, they did? I've only seen where they did Freaky Friday between adult
It was
kids.
Was it Ellen Burstyn? It's like an adult film. It's not a child's film. It's a true film. Yeah, it's I can't remember who the guy was. I think the woman was Ellen Burstyn, or it's another Ellen. But essentially, like a male. Speaking of cops, a male cop gets put into a woman's body, and so it's literally this female actor going around acting like a male cop. And the scene when she goes to the bathroom the first time is hilarious because she does, like she's forgotten that she's a she now. And she loses it. Like, you imagine walking into the bathroom and then being like, she loses it. It's fantastic. So no, I think they did do that movie.
Huh. Okay.
Your cinematic taste is like cutting edge in the 1980s. But that could be a good thing now because Stranger Things is certainly the other Stranger Things, the Netflix Stranger Things, is certainly cutting edge for the 80s as well. I haven't gotten to see it yet, and I probably will see it. Everyone's been telling me that it's very like 1980s-ish. Which is actually also very encouraging because I missed the 80s. I was out of the country for most of the 80s. So it's kind of nice that they took the name and did something that I would never have done and would never have been interested in doing. So it's like, okay, well, we have a similar name and everything else is different. So,
although I bet now you probably wish you had bought the .com instead of the .tv.
No, StrangerThings.com was already taken.
Oh, it was? Okay. I thought that's what Netflix was using now.
Is that the one Netflix? Yeah. No, I got the .tv because it was because that was the one that was available.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking if you had gotten the .com, you may have said, "Hey, you want a couple of million for your domain name?"
I would love it if they would buy it for a couple of million. They from what I've heard, you can sell a domain for like a couple of thousand or something. They don't get too crazy. Plus, it's Netflix. Like, Netflix doesn't care. Netflix.com is the only one they care about.
Right.
They're like, who cares if they go to your website? It's on the show is on the internet for free. Well, for $8 a month. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it's definitely been fun to chat with you.
Thank you. It's been fun to chat with you as well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming. It's been a few years since we've gotten to chat via voice. I think last time we were doing it, you were doing some kind of podcast after Stranger Things, I think.
Maybe? I don't remember. I know I did Requiem of the Outcast for a while. What's that?
I think you were interviewing people because Matthew Wayne Selznick was you were on his talk show program and he was donating money to some fundraiser. I don't remember. It's been years ago.
I don't know. It's been a while. I don't remember. I know I did Requiem of the Outcast for a while, but I thought I was doing that before I did Stranger Things. Yeah. So I couldn't say.
Okay.
But I will say, if anybody wants to find out more about the game, they can go to gluteforcegame.com.
Okay.
and they can find out more about all that stuff. Right now, it just forwards to my my developers blog, which is where I just keep it at my personal blog. But eventually, it'll go to the game itself. And hopefully, my goal absolutely is we're going to have the game out before Christmas.
Okay.
It has to be out before Christmas, and so that means you'll be getting a beta relatively soon.
Sounds good. And then I guess audio metrics, that's also kind of pod faded.
Yeah, I mean, because that was sort of a support podcast for Stranger Things. So yeah, audio metrics. David is now in New York. David Cantor, the guy who hosted that, he was one of the producers for Stranger Things. He's now in New York doing amazing work. He's been getting his doctorate, and we've all gone on to do amazing stuff, man. It's been fascinating.
Well, that's cool. All right. Well, definitely thank you for being on my Dog Days of Podcasting, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your game soon.
Thank you so much, Chris, and good luck with the rest of the month.
Thank you.